All right, we are matched up for the last round, and we are 3-1. So we at least get the 3-2, which is sweet, but getting a 4-1 would be much nicer. So that's the goal now. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Let's see if I'm actually matched up. Sometimes it fails. All right, we are. All right, we will play first. We've won a lot of die rolls. Well, we don't have our Mox Diamond, which, you know, crop rotation, obviously a pretty nice toolbox card, but it's not as powerful as some of the other things that this deck does. But Sylvan Library is nice. I'm gonna keep it. It's borderline in my book because I don't have a Mox Diamond or a Loam or a Gamble. Maybe you're just like supposed to have one of those cards in your opener, or not keep the hand. Card rotation's good against like combo, but it's not even that good, to be honest. Combo is discard. Ooh, that's a Mox Diamond. It's kind of a turn too late, but we're gonna play this out. The Mox Diamond was my bait spell, although it seems nobody ever counters Mox Diamonds. Mox Diamond's really good though. I think he's looking for a Force of Will here. Looks like he found it. It's pretty good. At least we can start porting him. Sure, that's fine. Don't think I'm supposed to crop rotate there. Though he probably doesn't have another Force of Will. But now we're looking for a Loam or a Gamble. It's not terrible. He's lightning bolting me. Let me see, can I combo here? One, two, right? Yeah. I feel like he's out of Force Wills. Maybe I shouldn't have floated that mana. I guess I had to. He could have like Liliana, I guess, or an Edict. But I think it's worth it here. Going for it. Game's not over or anything if he does have an Edict. Darn. Now we need a Loam. That was probably the wrong one. Probably wanted to go for the black one because of Grimag Angler. Doesn't have a Grimag Angler. Uh-oh. Cake Man? Another one? Come on. This is not nice. This is not nice. Feel like we're gonna lose this game. Probably, maybe I should have thought about the edict. Maybe I could have beat the edict by like tapping some lands or something. Him to me, okay. Wow, we've drawn all of our crop rotations. Whoops. Should have tapped. Yeah. Oh, okay. Whoops. 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 Alright. Alright. We're gonna lose this game. I'm gonna concede. This is too sad. This is too sad. Put a card on the bottom. Alright, I'll play it. Why not? But now I'm not gonna bother. He's got enough mana now. But I definitely should have ported him to keep him off of Jace. I might port him next turn. I will port in Wasteland, maybe? Probably dead to this Jace. Shoot. They probably only play one Edict. I feel like that play was okay. I'm not sure. All right. Just looking at, yeah, we can't beat that Jace now. We're not even close. Not even close. GG. He had the Edict. I feel like that play was reasonable. If any seasoned lands players are watching, feel free to tell me how wrong I am. All right, choke. This seems like a good choke matchup. Choke. Blasts. Trackers. No. Maybe. Could probably cut one P-Fire. And like 3 crop rotations, they seem like pretty bad. Caracas also seems like not the best. Glacial Chasm seems like not the best. Maze seems pretty decent. Tabernacle seems like not the best. This is Grixis Control we're playing against. That's what I'm at least assuming. So I'm bringing in stuff that seems good against that. Bad. Taking out things that seem bad. Okay, so that leaves us with 3 more things we can bring in. Crop rotation, maybe we want to. I'm just guessing. Chalice seems pretty decent. Probably not. Sphere seems pretty decent. Maybe not. Tireless Tracker seems pretty decent. Maybe not. Seems pretty good. Tireless Tracker seems pretty good. I don't have to attack with it into a Strix or anything like that. So we'll go with that. That's my best guess right there. Now what we're supposed to be doing? Let's get this choke into play, huh? Although, you know, Grixis Control has at least 3 or 4 lands that can untap through choke. Alrighty. Play first. Well, we have a gamble and we have a loam, and that seemed to have worked out pretty well for us in the past. Wow. Pretty good force will. Hand's okay though. He might have a surgical, which is gonna just be game over. I don't want to. Actually, I could just do it, and then it doesn't make me lose my draw step if he surgicals it. But I think that with loam you can't actually play around surgical. But I could be wrong. I feel like you can't play around surgical with this deck though. Like there's nothing you can do about it, right? If this is a Baleful Strix, that's kind of not too bad for us. And he got 2 basics versus our Ghost Quarter. That's interesting. Okay. Port, Maze, P-Fire. That's got to be all of his basics. Why did he search those? Maybe he has one more. Maybe he's got one more. It does. I should have. That's always awkward. That seems awkward. It's the second time I've done that, where I've used the land that I want to loan back, but it gives him the mana, potentially gives him the mana he needs to do something, like can counter it, or find a counter, or end of turn brainstorm. Although at least this deck isn't going to end of turn brainstorm and then kill me on his turn, like the storm deck. So now I feel like I could play around. Oh, okay, that's why. Well, that was fun. Do I have any answers to that? I do not. All right. Well, we lost the Blood Moon. A bunch of mountains in our hand. All right. So ended up 3-2. Lost to Blood Moon out of Grixis control in the last round, which is I would guess that maybe in this situation a veteran lands player would spot what's happening. But it's not like a common, or at least in my opinion, not a very good sideboard plan for Grixis control. Because especially right now, like there's just too many basics. It doesn't really make much sense in a 3-color deck that is actually punished by Blood Moon more than most decks. But I guess a veteran lands player might have spotted it by these obvious 2 basic fetches in the face of a Ghost Quarter. So other than that, what do I think about the difficulty of this deck and about how fun it was? It's pretty fun. Pretty fun to play for my first time. Not the most fun I've had picking up a deck for the first time. How hard is it? It feels completely helpless against combo. I've played combo against it, and I feel like they can't really do much. And I just played against Storm, and it felt like I couldn't really do much. So that's definitely something I'm not like that into, like a deck that just has super polarizing matchups like that. Against the creature-based decks that we played, like Delver, it also felt like they couldn't really do anything. Felt like even when I made some mistakes, didn't really matter. There was just pretty much nothing they could do about what this deck is trying to do, or at least they couldn't figure out what to do against what this deck is trying to do or doing. So the matches felt super polarizing, which to me was a little less fun than some other decks that I picked up for the first time. How difficult though? Not as difficult as even I thought. I thought it would be easier I thought it would be more difficult than elves. I thought it would be easier than miracles. I mean, I thought it would be more difficult than miracles, and I thought elves would be more difficult than lands until I played elves, and then I thought lands would be more difficult. Now I would say I think lands and elves are both decks you could just like pick up without playing. Unlike what Paulo said, that you shouldn't do it unless you're experienced with it. I think it's a fine deck to pick up and learn by taking to a tournament. I mean, I probably wouldn't take it to a GP tomorrow myself because I would probably not do very well with it at a GP. I mean, I'm sure I could do okay, but not if you're trying to win like a GP. I wouldn't. I mean, you're gonna want to practice your deck anyway. But if I was going to a 100-person tournament and I didn't play much Legacy, or I knew Legacy pretty well, but I hadn't played in a while, and I was curious like what kind of deck. If one of my friends said, or somebody who's really into Legacy said, lands is really well positioned right now, you should play lands, I would go, okay. I think that this deck is fine. Like, it's not that hard to play. There's certain things that I think you can just like spot by looking at it, that like getting your crop rotations countered is very bad for you. Having Mox Diamond on turn 1 is really good for you. And then Loam is like, you know, Loam is good. You just get the cards out of your graveyard, and and if you got Exploration going, you get to put 2 of them into play. Sideboarding is a little difficult. Punishing Fire is not always good, so it's kind of hard to decide when to take that out when it's like medium. Some of these sideboard cards are like bad for us, like these spheres and stuff, so they're a little hard to like bring in, even if they're like decent against the opponent. So I'm not really sure there. Similar with like Tireless Tracker, it's like, well, if they have answers to it, am I still supposed to bring it in? Probably, because they're trying to combat your win conditions. So that's a little difficult. Game 1, I lost to that in that last round. I lost to the Edict. I still think that was probably an okay play on my part, but maybe not. I don't know. And then the Blood Moon. Both of those, I'm not sure if I messed up. I don't know. I have no idea. But I would be curious if seasoned lands players while watching that were going, oh no, you're going to get Blood Moon, or oh no, you're going to get Edicted. I mean, obviously I knew about Edict too, but felt like, I don't know. So it was a little bit easier than I thought, as far as just like evaluating an opening hand and then it actually doing something. Like, maybe I was supposed to mulligan, but my point is that like when I kept a hand, it seemed to like work out all right in most cases, unless my opponent did too many things or killed me with Storm. So I think it was a little easier in that sense. And I mean, it really only, like, if you look at the deck, it really only does a couple things. It does Loam. Sylvan Library is really similar to Loam. Exploration is kind of a spell that just like lets you cheat your lands a bit, which is really good. So is Mox Diamond. So it's 8 cards that are kind of similar. Mox Diamond gives you a really good start. Exploration gives you a really good Loam. Gamble helps you find the one that you need to get like an engine going. Punishing Fire kills stuff. That's the whole deck right there. So I wouldn't say this is one of the hardest decks. I don't know. I think Crop Rotation is probably the hardest card in the deck, just looking at it here. I didn't really cast it, but it definitely looks like probably the hardest card in the deck. And Paolo does mention that one of the reasons he thought this deck was hard is because of the tutors, and that's the tutor. Oh, I guess Gamble is also a tutor. And I guess I got a little lucky with Gamble. But I think on turn 1, when you have like most of your hand and you realize like Mox Diamond is pretty busted, I mean, I'm sure maybe again, like some lands players might say, no, you were supposed to find Exploration. But the gist of it is that like it wasn't like an egregious mistake, like if you watch my Storm video, when I make a mistake, it like the game is over. I can't win. So far, Storm was definitely the most difficult deck of all the decks I played by far, and these other ones were actually easier than I expected them to be. Not that they're like easy decks. As you may have seen me say or write in other places, I think Legacy is pretty difficult. I mean, as you also saw in these videos, it's not like I'm winning with these decks, but I'm just saying, I'm just looking at it from a standpoint of never touched the deck, never even played a game with it, only have played against it, and know Legacy fairly well, and then you pick up the deck and then try and pilot it. And some of these the reason I never even played lands, even for fun at like a small tournament, was because it was intimidating to me. Similar with elves, they looked very difficult. Similar with Storm. Storm was the only one that actually lived up to that, and it was actually the one of the three that I just mentioned that I thought would probably be the easiest, because the combo looks fairly easy, where you need to have 10 spells. And I'd played a little bit of Storm in Modern, and you need like 20 spells, and I mean, this was a long time ago. But anyway, I thought Storm would be easier than it was. And then lands and elves were a little bit easier than I expected them to be. That doesn't mean I played them perfectly. Doesn't mean I won with them. It just means how I interpreted the difficulty of it while I was playing was a little bit easier than I had expected. Obviously, I had some decisions to be made that were difficult. I played quite slowly. I think anytime you pick up any deck for the first time, it's going to be like that, except for maybe the Chalice decks, which when I played it, I had the opposite reaction of this, and that was that they were actually quite a bit easier than I mean. I knew they were. When I filled out the survey for this, I did rank the Chalice decks at the bottom, but I still expected them to be a little bit harder than they were. I expected there to be a little bit more play to them than just basically hand evaluation and then like minor sequencing stuff. And that's pretty much all. The only choices you even really have to make in most games. So it was easier than I expected. I guess all of the decks were a little bit easier than I expected. But that being said, I do think they're all actually still pretty hard. Like winning sideboard games is hard, especially when you've never played the deck and your opponent has played the matchup. Like that's going to be really hard anytime you pick up a new deck. So anyway, that's basically my thoughts on lands and the whole idea of this article in the first place, which was really cool, and a lot of people found it interesting, including myself. So I hope you enjoyed this lands video, and this will probably be the last one of this from this article, at least, because all these other decks like Grixis Delver, Grixis Control, Stoneblade, not Maverick, but Dredge, Death and Taxes. I've played all of these like at minimum 4 or 5 leagues, and at most hundreds of matches. So the rest of them I played too much for it to be interesting compared to the ones that I did videos where I'd never touched them. So this will probably be the last video for this that is like this. But some other people have asked me like play elves or play goblins or play Allura and some of these other decks I haven't played, but they're not on this. I'll probably do those. I probably won't do them in a set of 2 like these, but I'll probably make some more videos. Anyway, hope you enjoyed it. Hope I didn't offend anybody, or if you disagree with me, that's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't necessarily think my opinion is correct. I'm just stating how the decks felt to me while I was playing them for the first time. So I hope that was enjoyable for everybody, and thanks again for watching. Bye.